Have you ever thought about buying a sea view apartment in Batumi and managing it on Airbnb? The numbers prove it's a profitable venture as the tourist numbers are continuing to grow again back to pre-2020 levels. Hi, I'm Larry Strauss, and I've been helping investors buy Airbnb properties and do property management for 10 years. And at the end of this video, we're going to talk about all the pros and cons, why it's a good idea to invest in Airbnb properties in Batumi. First thing you want to look for when you're buying an Airbnb or a sea view apartment in Batumi is location. So you don't have to be first or second row to have a good sea view here. There's plenty of tall buildings or bigger hills that you can get a good view on just by being on a strategic side of the building. The more important thing is you want to be within walking distance of the beach, which is popular here, and any of the local amenities. But Batumi is quite small, so there really is no bad locations to invest in Batumi. The second thing you want to consider when you're buying an Airbnb property here is quality. Quality never goes out of style. It's not a fad. And unfortunately, here in Batumi, a lot of the apartments are mass produced and the quality is average at best, which is not um, profitable for Airbnb properties because a lot of our Airbnb guests, you will not look after your Airbnb like you would. So while you don't need commercial grade finishings in your apartment, I suggest pro consumer level appliances and furniture, and it will save in maintenance costs in the future. Some of the things to upgrade, though, are really to consider when you're renovating your Airbnb property. If it's not renovated already, is the mattress, the shower, big shower with rain head shower heads, good internet. So buy a good router. There's fiber optic almost everywhere in Batumi now, and a full length mirror. A lot of people like the convenience of a full length mirror in their room. So every little thing that you can make your guests happier will help you get more 5-star reviews. And the more 5-star reviews you get, the more you make bookings because most people make their online bookings now based on a property manager's 5 stars reviews. The next thing to consider is property management itself. Most people that buy a property here don't plan on living in Georgia, so they're looking for a property management company. And while a lot of the developers here offer in-house property management, a lot of it is not going to make you money. They're only interested in basically selling rooms, and property management is afterthought for them. So you want to do a little bit of research and find a third-party property management that's actively promoting your room, and it will get you, at least 70% occupancy. There's some companies here that have dominated the Airbnb search and, are over 80% occupancy consistently. And that's while keeping the rates at market rate or higher. So very important when you're looking for a property is to think about property management afterwards. So what are some things to look for in property management, professional property management in Batumi? One of the big things that you're looking for is punctuality. Unfortunately, a lot of people here, they have a clock called Georgian time, and a lot of the people here run on it, but you can't have your property management being late. So, for example, you're going to meet somebody in an airport at a certain time, or your cleaning ladies need to clean a room between check-in and check-out, which is usually between 11 and 3. Those things need to be on time in order for everything to function smoothly and your guests to have a good experience. The other thing you want to look for is transparency. So you want to make sure that the property management company has a way of verifying your renters and rentals. Lots of, not lots, but there are some cases here of, property management renting room for cash and not telling their investor about it and therefore not receiving the income for it. So something to be aware of. It's not that common, but something to be aware of. The other thing to consider when buying an Airbnb property here is there's more money made in buying than there is in selling. So the best possible time to buy a project for an Airbnb would be when they're just pouring the foundation or they're announcing pre-sale of the building, because although you have to wait a little bit of time, usually 2, 3, maybe 4 years for the project to complete, you'll make a bigger return on the capital appreciation that you would make on the actual rental income itself. So something to keep in mind. What are some of the cons of investing in Batumi, Georgia for Airbnb? Some of the cons would be buying in a not complete finished project and the finished project not being completed. That does happen here, although the Georgian government is in the last mm, several years, probably going back 4 or 5 years now, requires developers to have a deposit to start a project. So that's eliminating a lot of unfinished projects. The other con here is, like I mentioned earlier, finding good property management. Good property management, while not impossible to find in Batumi, you have to look, usually outside of some developers in their own building. Some other cons would be workmanship, quality. Buyer beware here. There's no building code in Georgia for building buildings, so you need to be aware of construction processes to make sure that the structural part of your apartment is going to be last for the duration of your investment, which for most people is going to be a minimum 10 years, and for a lot of people 20 years. And Georgia even has the ability to pass property on to your heir. So, you know, you want to think about that, 40, 50, maybe even 100 years from now, you're passing your property on to your family. Some of the pros of buying a Airbnb property in Batumi in 2025 is tourism is growing here and business. Tourism numbers in 2024 are actually back to pre 2020 level. So 1.4 million tourists came to Georgia last year. So tourism is on the rise and continues to grow because, Batumi's on a beach in a strategic part of the world. It's close to a huge population. If you consider Asia and the Middle East, it's, the larger percentage of population in the world. So, and because of Georgia's visa policy here, a lot of people can come here visa free, for holidays or to short term work. The other reason to invest, the pros here are, availability. This is still essentially a pioneer market or a frontier market, and the capital appreciation is real here. I mean, the property prices are probably 30 to 40% lower than equivalent properties in a ski resort anywhere else in the world. And that's just going to continue to grow as more and more investors find out about Batumi and its capital appreciation potential. And speaking of capital appreciation, it's only 5% if you keep the property less than 2 years, and if you keep the property longer than 2 years, you pay 0% capital appreciation. I'm in actually an Airbnb room that I manage right now. Like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years in Batumi, and have an excellent track record. So if you're interested in Airbnb or buying rooms for Airbnb rental, property management, don't be afraid to reach out. Thank you for your time.